This video is to show how you would get ready to attend a Zoom meeting. First of all, we'll look at how you would just test that your equipment is set up correctly and that your microphone and camera are working correctly. And then we'll look at a couple of different ways of joining a pre-arranged Zoom meeting that someone else has invited you to. Once we've joined the meeting, we'll then look at how you control the Zoom client from your end, what you have the ability to change and alter. So we'll go through all those things in this video. You will be more relaxed using Zoom to join a meeting if you have pre-tested your Zoom client to make sure your camera and your microphone are working. So what I'd like to do is 15-20 minutes before the meeting starts, I just open Zoom and check things like microphone and camera are functioning. And then when you do join the meeting at the time, you're pretty confident that it will all work okay. So we're going to do that pre-test of Zoom now. Now, as in the last video, I can't use the camera I have for two purposes at the same time, so you will lose the picture of me in the bottom right-hand corner whilst we're doing this work with Zoom because it uses the same camera. So I'm going to turn this camera off now, but you will see me within the Zoom client anyway. So that's the camera gone from here because it's going to get picked up from Zoom. So if I now just minimize that and I go over to the Zoom client over here and double click it, it will open up the Zoom client to that screen you're familiar with. And as you can see, I'm already logged in as we discussed before, under this ID. So just to test your Zoom client is working, if you just click on New Meeting, it will attempt to open a meeting and you will see that my picture has come up automatically on the Zoom client, which is a good start. It means the webcam is working. And to check that your speakers and microphone, etc., you can just go on to this thing here where it says test speaker and microphone. So if you click on here, it will play a little bit of music. And if you can hear it okay through your headphones or your speakers, you can tick yes, that's working okay. It's working okay. And now you will notice it's picking up my voice on the microphone with this blue line. It's picking up my voice on the microphone with this blue line. And then it repeats it back to me. So if you can hear that, you know your microphone's working. And then it repeats it back to me. So if you can hear that, you know your microphone's working. So click yes again. So now you're in a position knowing that the camera's working and the microphone's working, and you can join the session that you want to join. So if I just go back to here, now remember this is just a dummy run really to test things out. So I don't actually have anything to join, and I can now end this session down here. You can see the red end sign. So I've just started a meeting with me as the only participant, and I've just checked my camera and everything is working. So having done that, I can say end. And you have then to confirm end meeting for all being just me. So we go back to this, but you're now in a position where you know that your client is going to work. The next stage is to actually join a Zoom meeting that has been set up by your host. When a host arranges a meeting and schedules it in Zoom, it creates the necessary information for the participants to join. And he will send that information to you most likely as an email. So let's have a look at what one of those emails looks like. And then we can see how you would join. So here's the email that I have sent out inviting you to a scheduled Zoom meeting. And the topic is the trial Zoom meeting, and the date and the time is shown there, which is still about 12 minutes away. Underneath that, there's a join Zoom meeting link, long link here, which we'll use as a second way of joining the meeting. But first, we'll just join it using the meeting ID that's been provided and the passcode that's provided. So we'll do it that way first, and then we'll use the link. So if we go to the Zoom client now and attempt to join this meeting, we need to click on Join here, and we get another little window come up. Now, just so I can see the email at the same time, I'll minimize the Zoom client window and move this down, because now I can actually put in the meeting ID straight from the email, which you could do by cutting and pasting it, or you can do it by just typing it in. So when you've put that in, you just say join. And then it's going to ask for the passcode for the meeting. So the same thing again, and be conscious that some of it's uppercase and lowercase. It has to be exactly right, obviously, like any password. It's a bit of a fiddle, but we've put that in. And then we can say join meeting. Now it's come up with a message saying, please wait for the host to start this meeting. Because we're 10 minutes ahead of the meeting start time, it would appear that the host hasn't yet kicked off the meeting on his machine. So he hasn't actually physically started the meeting in the Zoom client. So we get this message that says, please wait for the host to start this meeting. And that's fine. You can just sit here and wait. Before we go into the next stage, let's look at a different way of getting to this point. So if I close that little screen there, it brings me back to the client. And if I minimize that client to the bottom of the screen, if I was to, instead of putting in the meeting ID and the passcode, if I just click on this link, this complex link here, it will do it all for me. So it's opened the client and it's brought me back to the same spot saying, please wait for the host to start this meeting. So it's a lot easier to use the link if you can, because you don't have to fiddle around putting the meeting ID and the passcode in. Okay, so here we are now waiting for the host of the meeting to start the meeting. And since I'm the host as well, I'm going to start the meeting on another machine. So I've kicked off the meeting on another machine, and that will cause this to change such that now the meeting is in existence. Anybody trying to go in will get a new message associated with that meeting, because the meeting is now underway, and the message should change. And here it goes. The message is changing now to please wait. The meeting host will let you in soon. So the reason you're getting this is because the host has decided that he's going to use what's called the waiting room, which means that as each participant tries to log in, he has to admit them to the meeting. And the reason why this waiting room was brought into Zoom was because people were what's called Zoom bombing, which meant they were forcing their way into existing meetings by effectively guessing the meeting ID. So in this way, the host checks off each person as he admits them to make sure that they are genuine participants. So now we're just waiting for him to admit us. Now this can take a while, because If he's got 30 people attending this meeting, he has to go and click on each person. So bear in mind, he's probably going to get to you, and we'll do that now. So I'll admit us as a participant, and you see as soon as I admit it, it changes again and it's brought up the screen. So now we as a participant are invited to join the Zoom meeting with computer audio. So you need to click on this link to say, yes, I'm ready to go. I'm going to join with computer audio. And as soon as I've done that, you'll probably hear that there's some echo occurring because in this situation, the host and the participant are in the same room. So I'm getting some feedback on the sound system. So I'm going to turn the speakers down here so that it doesn't confuse us or cause any problems. All right, so we're now the participant. We're the P on this side. This fixed image is the host, which also happens to be me. But it's fixed because I've got the camera or the video turned off for the host so that it's clear who is who. So this is the host, and this is us trying to join the meeting. And the reason we haven't got any video picture here is because if you look down at the bottom left-hand corner, the video is turned off. That's our video is turned off. So if I turn the video on by just clicking on it, here I am. And we're now in the meeting with not only audio, but video as well. Now, the reason why it joins you without video is just to allow you time to make sure everything is okay before you actually switch the video on. Now, this is the client screen, and people are represented on the screen by little individual pictures. In this case, there's only 2 of us, but when you join a meeting, you could find there's 30 or 40 pictures there, all different people, and they're all spread out on the screen. And the more people that join, the smaller the pictures become, so they can fit in more and more. So because there's only 2 of us, they're pretty big pictures. But when you get into a real meeting, they'll all get a lot smaller. So the first thing to realize on this Zoom client is that it's just all black on the client. I'll just minimize the browser out the background so it's just a little less confusing. But there is no controls or no icons on the Zoom client until you actually move the mouse. And you see, if I move and keep moving the mouse, then you see the icons on the bottom corner. And this is the first bit of confusion for new people to Zoom, is that they may have joined, but their camera isn't on, and participants are giving them, encouraging remarks like, turn your camera on, or we can't hear you, do this or do that, but you can't see the controls. So first of all, be aware that you only get access to the controls when you move the mouse around. So if you've joined and forgotten to turn your camera on, remember the camera is down here. So you may just not have clicked to turn the camera on. We'll go through each of these controls now so that you get a better feeling for how to use Zoom. And it's worth saying that other than the camera and the sound, these 2 here, the microphone and the video, and of course the leave button down this right-hand side, other than those 3 controls, you can basically click on any of them during the meeting and no one will know that you're clicking on them. So it's a good idea just to sort of experiment and open each thing up and see what it does. The only ones to be aware of is if you switch yourself off from sound or video, or you leave the meeting. So let's take them one at a time. If we go up to the top right-hand corner, there's this view control. And as you can see, we're currently set as gallery view because of the tick mark. And I would recommend you start in gallery view. It's a little less confusing and you will see all the all the participants sort of equally as thumbnails. If we go to speaker view, you'll notice there's one big picture down center, and all the other pictures of people will be wrapped around that. And this, I think, is primarily for when you're attending, maybe a course or a lecture or whatever, such that the speaker has a bigger picture for most of the time in the middle. For a meeting, it can get a bit confusing. So I do recommend you probably start just with gallery view. You'll find it less confusing. On the other side of the screen, there's this little green tick mark in a shield, and this just has information about the Zoom meeting that you're in. So it has the meeting ID, it has the host, and it has the passcode and that link and so on. So it just gives you information about the meeting that you're currently in. Going down to the bottom, you'll see that you've got your sound mute and you've got your video on and off switch. Going further across, you've got a thing called participants, showing that there's 2 participants, that's the host and us. If we click on it, it opens a panel on the right-hand side where you will be, I think, at the top, and the hosts and other participants will be listed down. And if there's 30 participants, there'll be 30 people listed down here. And as you can see, the host camera is turned off, and that's why it's just a still picture. Okay, so you can see who's muted and whose camera is on or off on this list. Again, down at the bottom, if you click on chat, you'll get another little block opens up here down at the bottom. And here is like a text messaging system between the participants in the meeting. So at the bottom, you can send a message to everyone, or you can pick off an individual to send the message to. So if I just put in hello and send that by hitting enter, you'll see that it's been sent to everyone. So that's just a little thing. And like I say, you can open these panels, have a look, and obviously if you send a message, you might get a response. If you finish looking at those panels or don't want them open anymore, then you can close them by this little arrow at the top. If you click on that and click on close. And the same for the chat panel, click on that and close. So that's the 2 here, participants and chat. The next one along has got share screen, and this is to allow you to share your desktop screen to all the participants. But if you click on it, which I'll do now, you're likely to get a message that says host has disabled participant screen sharing. And the host can enable it for individuals if he thinks it's worthwhile as part of the meeting or the course or whatever. But generally, it will probably be turned off for participants. So we can just click OK. The next one along is record, and this is a bit similar in as much as you have to ask permission of the host to be able to record a part or all of the Zoom session. And he could be recording it anyway, but he has to give you permission to record it. So we'll just close that. And the last one down here is reactions. And this little thing gives you the opportunity to clap, to show appreciation for something, show a thumbs up, show joy, show open mouth, a heart symbol, and a ta-da. Now, all of these are just temporary signals. So if I click on clap, it will show a clap in the top right, top left-hand corner of my picture, but it will disappear in time. It only shows briefly. As you can see, it's gone already. Also at the bottom of the reactions panel is raise hand, and this is a bit different because if you raise your hand like that, it will put a hand up for you to ask a question or to signal to the host you want to speak or whatever, you want the floor. And that hand signal won't go until you lower the hand signal. So you can do that by going back to reactions and lower the hand, or you can just go to the three dots here and say lower hand here. So that's quite good. And the last one over the right-hand side is leave. And obviously this is to leave the Zoom meeting. If you do accidentally click on it, you will be asked to confirm a second time. So it's, if you click on it then, it will actually leave the meeting. But for the moment, we'll just cancel. If you do leave the meeting, you can actually rejoin the meeting as long as the meeting is still running. If you had to go out for 15 minutes and then you thought you might be able to rejoin when you got back, you could give it a try, and if the host is still running the meeting, then the same link or the meeting ID and passcode will get you back in after he's readmitted you. So you can leave and come back, but only on the assumption that the meeting's still running. So I do encourage people to try out these controls and click on them. Remember, the only controls that will have an effect on other people, in other words, they'll be able to see you've clicked on something, is if you click either the mute button or the video button or the leave button. Other than that, you can click on all the other buttons and only you will see the effect of clicking on those buttons. So it's worthwhile just getting familiar with the Zoom controls because it just means you feel more comfortable in Zoom meetings in the future. So that's about it. There's not really much more to cover. Obviously, when you double click leave, you will leave the meeting and you will just close the client and that's it. So I hope you found this video informative and helpful for future Zoom meetings.